Houska Castle. This Gothic castle is located in the Czech Republic, close to Prague, close to the German border. And no one knows exactly when this castle was built. They say it was built in the 13th century, around 1235. So it's estimated to be around 770 years old. They say that it's one of the best preserved medieval castles in the Czech Republic. And I'll give you 3 reasons why it was so well preserved. The first reason is it's made out of stone and brick, and this is the strongest material that you can build a castle out of. The second reason is because it's been continuously maintained and renovated throughout the years, keeping it in good shape. And the third reason is Houska Castle wasn't used as a military base or just some normal castle owned by some powerful lord, nor was it a government building. They say that it was built solely to keep people away from the castle, because it was built to close off one of the entrances to the gates of hell, and to stop demons that were trapped in the lower levels from reaching the rest of the world. So let's talk a little bit more about Houska Castle and the history of it. But before we get into that, please make sure you're subscribed to my channel to hear more wild stories, and hit the bell so you're notified of my new videos that I post. Houska Castle was built on a steep rocky cliff in a remote area of the forest. In a forest that was so dense that even hunters had a hard time hunting in it. This castle had no strategic importance. The only thing around it was mostly swamps and mountains. It was really built in the middle of nowhere. It had no defenses, no fortifications, no walls to protect it from attacks. Also, the castle's windows were fake. They were just glass panes with walls behind them that served no real purpose. The castle had no water sources either. The only water in this castle is rainwater that was collected, because it wasn't really designed to be a place for occupants. The castle was built on a strange crack of limestone with a hole that was big and deep enough to reach the underworld, where beings would climb to the top. Inside the castle today, there are only a few distinct rooms. There's not even a kitchen inside the castle. There's a great hall, which is the main gathering room of the castle, that's used for meetings and dining and entertaining. There's a hunting lodge with a wall full of horn, sheep, goat trophies. There's an inner courtyard that seems to be built to keep things on the inside of the castle instead of the outside of the castle. From things climbing up the walls, some sort of inner defense. Also, in the middle of the castle is a square burial of where they say 3 Nazi soldiers were executed and buried. So the main part of the castle is the Gothic Chapel, which is dedicated to the Archangel Michael, who in the Bible is a leader of God's army fighting against the hordes of hell. In the chapel, they have a drawing of him fighting a dragon, and another painting of him holding a sword in one hand, and in the other hand a set of scales weighing the souls for the last judgment. And they have other pictures as well on the walls. But the strangest painting in the castle is a painting of the upper body of a woman on top of the lower body of a horse, which we know now as a centaur. and she is holding a bow in her right hand, and with her left hand she is pulling and aiming an arrow at a human figure. They say that this painting is odd because it's a pagan mythology creature on the walls of a church. Also, the female being left-handed was associated with Satan, because left-handed people back in the day was so odd and rare that they thought they were the devil. And this chapel was built right on top of the hole to hell, sealing it off. Also, there's a bottom portion of this castle deep in the cellar, which they call Satan's office. And in this part of the castle, this is where they have some strange artifacts and the thickest walls. So before the hole was covered and before the castle was built, there was a massive hole on a cliff, a bottomless hole that you couldn't even see the bottom of. So locals would claim to see strange sightings of beings in the forest after dark. They would see black winged demons flying out of the bottomless pit. Hybrid creatures would climb out of the pit at night and go into the village and kidnap the locals and take them back into the hole with them. So the Duke of a powerful clan called the Duba was trying to figure out this hole. He wanted to see if indeed it was a doorway to hell. So he got some prisoners from the local prison and he offered them a proposition. He told them that they would get a full pardon and a release if they did just one thing. Do you know what that one thing was? Get lowered into the pit of hell. He told them that he would lower them down with a rope, and all they had to do was tell him what they saw. So the prisoners didn't really have too many options, and they were like, bet, I'll do it. And one guy volunteered quickly, and they tied the rope around him, and they slowly lowered him down into the black hole. They would lower him, and they'll ask him, hey, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm okay. Then they lower him a little bit more, and they'll say, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I'm good. Then they lowered him down further, and there was a silence. And then he started screaming uncontrollably and jerking the rope from deep in the hole to pull him up. And when the Duke's men pulled him up to the surface, they looked at him, they saw the prisoner's face, and they were in total shock. He had looked like he aged more than 30 years, and his hair was all white, and his face was full of wrinkles. He was an older man. And he didn't want to speak about what he saw, and they sent him to the insane asylum, and a few days later, he died from unknown causes. But here's the thing, the Duke didn't stop doing this. He kept doing his experiments on multiple prisoners, getting the same results every single time. So this spooked the Duke, and he went to the king and told the king what happened and was like, we need to close this hole. So they started dropping rocks and boulders into the hole trying to close it off, and nothing was happening. So they were convinced that this hole is a GPS to Satan. So they decided they needed to cover it up, and the king was like, let's build a castle around it and put a church on top of it to seal those evil forces inside, and hopefully God will protect people from this hell and the demons. In 1639, a Swedish mercenary named Oranto, who was a leader and a master of black magic and alchemy, made this castle his home and set up a laboratory where he performed experiments. They say he was creating an elixir to give him eternal life. His troops also terrorized the local village people, and one day, 2 hunters who were fed up with him, snuck up on Houska Castle in the middle of the night, and they saw Oronto in the window and they shot him dead. So I guess he didn't get the chance to take the elixir. In 1836, a Czech poet named Karel Hynek Mácha was taking a tour of the region and decided to spend a night at the Houska Castle. While he was asleep, he had a vivid dream that was so profound that he wrote it down in a letter to his friend Edward Hindle, and in this letter he described his soul descending into the pit and being transported into a mechanized future. He described being in Prague in 2006, where he wandered in horror and despair. He then met a girl in that dream who showed him moving pictures in a small casket, and that in the darkness he walked among high sandstone cliffs, and that he saw buildings and apartments that he really couldn't describe because it was in 1836, and he was describing modern day Prague. So did these images come from his subconscious? Some people believe that that hole was a time portal. So word got around about Houska Castle and the hole to the abyss, and also the picture of the woman centaur using the bow with the left hand being pagan in a Christian church, and this got the Nazis really interested. So what they did was they went to Houska Castle to investigate. So in 1939, the Czechoslovakia army was taken over by Hitler. So Hitler's security team, the SS, went to Houska Castle to make it their new Nazi headquarters and to utilize the powers of hell and to do experiments and to harness the occult magic of the castle. The SS was led by Heinrich Himmler. He was Hitler's right-hand man and was deep into the occult, deep into witchcraft, pagan rituals, and the supernatural. And when he arrived to the castle, locals reported seeing unexplained lights coming from the castle at night. Some say they used the castle as a breeding ground to create a master race. Some say they used it to do ceremonies, rituals, and perform human sacrifices. Some say they were experimenting with the creatures in the earth to create an army or some type of superweapon. The Nazi army stayed there until 1945, until their defeat, and a bunch of German soldiers were found buried there, maybe to cover up what they knew about the rituals and other evils that the SS were doing at that castle. And after 1945, there still was weird stuff happening at the castle. They say that there's always dead birds found in the courtyard. And the reason why is because of the dark energy that is coming from the pit kills them when they fly over the castle. People also seen ghosts there as well, an old woman, phantoms walking down the hall. There has also been sightings of a bullfrog human creature, as well as the remains of the demonic beast that escaped the pit. They say as of today you can visit this castle. Some are still saying that weird events happen. Some people say their cars won't start near the castle. Some visitors hear screams and clawing and scraping noises from the hole under the chapel. Some say they have really bad luck when they leave the castle. Some people, when they get to the castle, have a strong premonition not to even enter it when they arrive. Some people feel watched by some sort of entity when they tour the premises. Some say that strange creatures still roam the woods after dark. So that is the wild story of the Houska Castle. I also tried to dig deeper, but I couldn't really find anything more than what I shared with you in this video. So maybe it's a folklore, maybe it's a mystery, maybe it's true, maybe it's a hoax to promote ticket sales. All I know, it's wild. Shh. Let me know what you think of Houska Castle. Would you visit it? Would you stay the night? Please like and subscribe and share, and be sure to comment below what you think, and thank you for watching another video.